Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, where every day we explore a different industry and look at how technology is transforming, or at least providing a new way of doing things and eradicating that awful phrase, "but we've always done it this way." There's a new sheriff in town, so get with the programme. Now, when I think of HR, I get flashbacks from my IT past and clunky HR systems. And I'll be honest with you, I never understood why HR tech used to be so awful right across the board. You have a department that has a reputation for being a little bit fluffy and liking things done in a certain way, and don't necessarily have high technical skills, but they were forced to use software that makes no sense, even to an IT guy. But thankfully, things are changing, and today I want to find out more about how it has evolved over the years since I hung up my troubleshooting guns. And today's guest is a serial entrepreneur with leadership experience that spans the full spectrum of strategic and tactical activities in the software technology industry. The company is called EverythingBenefits and is based in New Providence and provides the new generation of automated benefits technology that actually uncovers hidden costs, eliminates errors in healthcare for employees, and also keeps companies compliant. That was more than enough to spark my interest, so buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Florida so we can speak with Rachel Lyubovitzky, but is usually based in New York but has escaped to Miami for a conference and waiting to tell us all about her story and Everything Benefits. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Rachel. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Rachel Lyubovitzky, the CEO of Everything Benefits. We are a benefits technology company, and what we're working on is bringing the 21st century into the benefits world that probably lags some decades behind the rest of the business world.
You make it sound so easy. But I think very often we only get to hear about the success stories or the end results at tech startups. But the real value is often in the grind that goes on behind that 10-year overnight success story. So just before we talk about Everything Benefits, can you tell me a little bit more about your backstory, how you got where you are today? Because I think I'm right in saying that you're a serial entrepreneur with leadership experience that spans the full spectrum of strategic and tactical activities, all in the software technology industry. Is that right?
Absolutely. You can say that we are a group of technologists that fell in love with technology. And over the past 20-year period, I had kind of enjoyed watching and touching and building things that actually transform people's lives. I think that's one of the things you mentioned in occasionally in your blogs. It is fascinating how technology is transforming our individual personal lives. We find it even more fascinating how the life of businesses had been transformed with the help of technology. So over the past 20 years, we were completely focused on business-to-business enterprise technologies. And enjoyed our space becoming something altogether different. I mean, if you think about it, your Uber, is that a technology company? Your bank, is it now a technology company? And ultimately, we're in a space where benefits technology providers are going to become technology companies.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm glad that you've read some of my work there, because I do indeed. I'm completely fascinated by how technology is transforming multiple industries, especially the ones that you don't associate with technology. And when I first visited your website, I was greeted with the words that it's time for a revolution. And it also sets the scene that it's time to transform your employee benefit administration experience, but without replacing your existing platforms, using simple solutions and seamless integrations. Now, for people that are just listening and hearing about you guys for the very first time, though, can you tell them a little bit about the kind of problems that you're solving for businesses, and also why you're so passionate about bringing change to the industry?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, after all, benefits touches every person's life. Right? It's your health, it's your family's health, it's your friend's health. And yet when you think about it, the experience that you have is nowhere where it should be. You won't have anybody raising their hands to say, oh, we absolutely love how our benefits feel. So you're able to buy plane tickets from your cell phone. You're able to do incredible things on your cell phone, and yet something that touches your life, the experience remains to be deeply unsatisfying. And so we are at a very interesting inflection point industry-wise, where a lot of the employers are starting to realize the incredible power that they actually have. They have the power to change that experience. They have the power to demand and to ask for the providers to be accountable for giving them a little bit better feel for what is touching them every day. So where we come in with our technologies is simply providing them with the tools that they can use to essentially wield their control, wield their power over the experience for themselves and for the people that they're supporting.
And I also believe that Everything Benefits was elected as a Business of the Year finalist by the New Jersey Business Journal too. I mean, that must make you feel incredibly proud that you're on the right track and you're doing the right thing. But did it take you by surprise?
A little bit. There's a lot of companies in New Jersey, so it was wonderful to get that recognition. I would say though, ultimately our customers are the heroes in the story. They're the ones who step up and say, hey, I am not going to stand for it anymore. I want to have a better experience. I want to stop doing things manually, stop dealing with the paperwork, show me a better way. And one of the things, again, they're driving us to be us, which is kind of amazing. And coming out and saying, hey, this is what I'd like to see. This is how I'd like my experience to evolve. Essentially, they are a muse that are helping propel our growth and helping us become a better company. So yeah, I have to say it was wonderful, but kudos go back to the folks that helped us get there.
Fantastic. Now, before you came on the show today, I did do a little bit of research on you guys and quickly learned that you've got over 3,000 clients. I mean, do you have any success stories that you can share that will just help listeners visualize the kind of difference that you're making?
Sure. One of the stories that really comes to mind relates to one of our popular products called Benefits Reconciliation. So for a little bit of a background, the employees and employers enroll in benefits. This information makes it over to insurance companies. Insurance companies process that information, enroll them in benefits, and at the end of each month, send out an invoice indicating how much is due for these services. It sounds really beautiful and simple. However, sometimes there are billing errors, billing irregularities that sort of creep up and could also have a liability effect. For example, if employee's information somehow doesn't make it over to the carrier, for all intents and purposes, that employee is not enrolled. So not only is it, you really want to be sure that you know where the money is going, you also want to be sure that the folks that that are on your team are able to be covered if something is to happen to them. So employers that are starting to realize that managing their benefits cost is something that they really have to start doing. After all, benefits are second only to their payroll. For them, having to manage the reconciliation process of what do the invoices look like to who's actually enrolled and who is on payroll has become a major headache. So if you can imagine, one particular story, we had a client who had two full-time individuals who spent a week out of a month reconciling those invoices. So imagine printing out all those pages of paper from the carrier, printing out all the pages from your benefits enrollment system, and painstakingly correlating and line by line, record by record. My head spins just imagining what their life must have felt like. So with our benefits recon solution, that match happens in seconds. Literally, we're able to combine data from multiple sources on one page, on one screen, and provide instant insight into where they might be overpaying. Perhaps somebody was terminated, but still show up on a bill underpaying. That example I had shared earlier, where employee somehow doesn't make it to the insurance provider's website. So ultimately, we were able to reduce the time that it took for that client from a week out of a month, 1/4 of their professional life was spent on that, to 15 minutes. So one particular moment was when we visited them, and those two ladies, Cheryl and Margaret, and Cheryl took me over to see Margaret's cube. And when I was passing by, Cheryl said, "Hey, this is Rachel from Everything Benefits." Margaret reached out her hand and grabbed my hand and said, "You've changed my life. I am so happy to have my life back." And you don't really feel it when you sit there in your office, and you obviously realize that there's a tremendous impact, but that was so visceral seeing her face. So yes, it was incredibly reaffirming that this is absolutely changing people's lives. And yes, her week, 1/4 of her professional life is back, and she could do so many more better things with it. That was just one example that I keep coming back to, that moment when she grabbed my hand and said, "You changed my life."
What a great story. I absolutely love that. And there is a lot of talk around the digital transformation of everything at the moment. And as someone that has been in that HR space for years, I'm curious, how have you seen that space evolve over the last few years? And what do you think the drivers of this change are?
There's a number of different things at play here. I would have to say that for the United States, the lowest unemployment we had seen in decades is one of the primary drivers. You really have a all-out war on talent taking place. And so employers are kind of running out of the different ways to be creative to attract and retain employees. On top of that, if you think about a lot of the new employees that are entering the workforce are millennials. They grew up with their cell phones. They expect instant gratification. They expect things. So working to satisfy that newer element of the workforce is something that had been keeping a lot of employers awake. And had driven a lot of really interesting changes in the benefits ecosystem that we are observing.
Now, employee benefits are a big influencer on employee experience, which is also becoming increasingly important to employees in this age of experience and the employees looking to drive benefits engagement. Are you finding?
I have to say that the biggest ones are the operating and management costs to have to support ever-growing set of benefits that are made available for employees. There's, of course, the actual costs of offering these benefits themselves. And finally, something that doesn't really get looked at but is absolutely critical, the growing liability that comes with offering those benefits. Being sure that whenever somebody became eligible, you literally have to drop everything, make sure you spend time with that employee and explain to them how ever-growing portfolio of the different products will apply to them. Or whenever something happens in that employee life, being there to explain what particular aspect of the benefit portfolio would be relevant to them at that time. So there's a giant operating burden that a lot of employers are starting to struggle with because the HR departments that had been historically tasked with administering that burden, they have not grown. The number of products had grown, but that change had not increased.
And HR does have a reputation for clunky software, and I must admit, I still get flashbacks of it from my IT days. But is that changing now? Is it much more user-friendly and more about the user experience?
Absolutely. We are definitely making huge progress there. Thanks to millennials and other folks from other industries that are driving this change in the benefit space. Just to give you an example, one interesting compliance product that we have, COBRA administration. COBRA is the law that was passed in the 80s, pre-internet age, that drives compliance and ability for employees or their spouses who lost coverage to remain on the employer plan. Well, this is a pre-internet law, so it has the paperwork, literal physical paperwork, and lots of other things with the timelines and having to remember what happens when. Well, with the tech, our tech, for example, we were able to reduce the entire paper manual experience to 2 clicks. Yes to COBRA or no to COBRA. And then our technology kicks in and does the rest, and the rest of the magic technology integrators to get the letters out to people. The mapping of where the letter is going gets reported live on the product. So yes, somebody just got enrolled in Cobra, and you have real time input into where they are and what's happening with them. So this is one of the examples where something really antique by the internet age, with the right tech, we were able to transform it to literally 2 clicks. So there's a lot of hope.
Fantastic. But what's next for Everything Benefits? Is there anything else that you can share with us today, or anything that you're excited about?
Sure, absolutely. So we are generally, as an industry, at a very interesting inflection point. If you look at the headlines, there are major transformations happening with the carriers, the insurers that are joining forces with other insurers. There are hospital systems that are coming out and starting to operate as insurance providers. You have CVS merger with Aetna that, again, is starting to transform the space. The one part that we are excited about, having been providers of solutions for employers, is that employers are starting to realize what incredible power they have to leverage their buying power to get precisely the benefit experience that is superior to anything they've ever had. They are able to get that experience that's also financially sound and make them feel a whole lot better about themselves and employees. So as far as what's new with Everything Benefits, what's going to be happening in the future, we are going to continue expanding our solution lineup, while embracing different constituents of the benefits market in addition to the employers. So those are insurance carriers that are starting to go through some major changes, brokers, and hospital systems to help these organizations engage with our customers and employers in general in more meaningful ways.
And if we do have anyone listening who, when you shared the story a few moments ago of that lady where your software actually changed her life, you can get back to concentrating on value. If those words resonated with them, what's the best way of reaching out and finding you guys online, or maybe even contacting a member of your team after listening to our conversation today?
So the best way is to go to our website, www.everythingbenefits.com. We have a couple of different forms on our pages, so you can click on Contact Us form and fill in your information and your question, and we'll get back to you. Alternatively, if you are around our website and you happen to be representative of an employer or insurance carrier or potential reseller, there's a way to reach out to us from any one of those pages, so that a member of our team that specializes and concentrates in this particular area can get back to you.
Well, I love so much of what you're doing here, especially because my IT past, like I said, I do remember those days of clunky software. And when you say words like paper to manual process reduced to 2 clicks, I understand completely just how big a deal that is. And also why that lady wanted to shake your hand and thank you for changing her life. But more than anything, just a big thank you for coming on and sharing that story with me today. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Neil. It was a pleasure.
Rachel has an amazing story and armed with so many invaluable insights, and I cannot thank her enough for sharing her story today and the great work that they're doing and getting feedback like a customer holding your hand and just saying thank you so much. And it's something I always say, time is the new currency. And we often talk about how technology is removing aging roles, but I don't think it is at all. If your job role consists of doing something that's mundane, repetitive and time consuming, isn't it better to let technology do that so you can focus on actually delivering real value to your business? Maybe that's why they've got 3,000 clients and 600 plus partners and moving into a brand new office. So I wish them the best for the future. I think it's a great story and great work that they're doing. But as for you guys listening, has that left you with any questions, or do you need my help with anything, whether it be business blogs, starting your own podcast, or even event coverage? You know where to find me by now. This is a two-way conversation, and contacting me is as simple as emailing me at techblogwriter@outlook.com. Twitter and Instagram is just my name, Neil C. Hughes, and my website is techblogwriter.co.uk. So I love reading those messages, so keep them coming in, and also iTunes reviews, because that really does help this podcast battle against the algorithms to keep more listeners coming along to the show. But we've reached the end of another episode. How did that happen already? But a big thank you for allowing me into your earballs once again. Let's do it all again tomorrow. But until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.